Kia ora. I'm going to be using the gorgeous Confessions of a Paper Addict stitched winter cut file, as well as stitched snowflakes cut file that I have merged together on the same cut file to sort of, in a way, making my own, but using both of Virginia's gorgeous cut files here and teamed them up into one layout. So I've gone through my paper collection and I have selected out some different blues, some papers that I thought were a bit wintry, and you can see here I've got one paper that's already been used and I'm trying to use up some scraps to back these letters. And now I have done that, and it's got a beautiful rose gold tucked in there, so it just has that nice sort of icy feel to it. I'm going to mount the photos that I have printed onto some white daisy cardstock. Now I don't end up using all of these photos, but that's okay. I will use the ones I haven't used here in another page at another point in time. So it is currently June, but these photos were taken in May, and we've had some incredibly cold mornings already. I think on this particular day my shower had actually frozen and I had to use one of the other showers in the house. My shower is sort of right on the cold side of the house, so it does tend to happen when things get quite cold that the pipes are a wee bit frozen up. But it's only May, so it's not actually even officially winter yet, but it certainly feels like it. So I'm just using some scrap papers. So I've sort of got a box that I keep all my cut up bits of paper in past collections and things, and I've just gone into that and found papers that I think might work with this winter kind of themed page. So the spotty paper there that I'm cutting up was actually a Christmas paper at some point, but the opposite side's a nice black and white that sort of continues or contributes to that winter feel. So I've just chosen a few different papers to mat the photos, just to give them a bit of lift, a bit of dimension, and to add some interest. So now's when I pull out that third photo and just decide to keep the two of them. So one of the photos here is the frost on the roof of my car, and looking across at the trees that are also rather frozen, and the other photo is holding a coffee cup up. I've sort of got some takeaway ceramic coffee cups that I use from home. So I'm actually going to do a bit of stamping as well onto this layout. So I've found some border stamps, and these sort of have got some snowflakes over them, and I'm just using some of, I think it's Glacier or Lagoon ink to just add another dimension or another piece of interest in the background there. So I have just added the ink to the stamp blocks and I am stamping on there. So the mat that I've used is, on one side it's a really good sort of basic cutting mat and things like that, whereas if you flick it over it's got a great foam backing, so it helps the stamped image to be crisp and clear. So as well as the border stamps, I'm pulling out some sort of one of my ink blot kind of stamps. I love collecting these because it can give you that mixed media look, but with a bit more control over the process. So this is sort of a splatter stamp, and I think it's Bluebird that I'm using there, just to ink it around, twisting the stamp around so it's not always in the same direction. So it's sort of got one splot and then a couple of little splots around it. So you can just see I'm sort of filling in some spaces and randomly placing those around. I'm now going to use one of the other ink sort of blot stamps, a slightly bigger one, and I'm going to use a little bit more of this and some second generation stamping. So second generation means before re-inking it, you stamp it again, so it'll just add a lighter colour, giving the remnants of the ink onto the page. So I have now done that. So that other ink colour was crystal blue rather than Glacier. And turning the mat back over, ready to stick down some of these photos. So I'm just attaching them. I could have used phone tape between the layers, but it's already got some nice dimension on the page with the layers and with the stitching. So I'm just roughing up the edges a bit and then adding them to the final layer. Now this is where I do add foam tape to the very back mat. Because it's going on an uneven surface, using the foam tape helps the photos to sit level over the cutout pieces and the stitching and things like that. So just a tip, if you're sticking things over uneven surfaces, some foam tape can be quite helpful for evening that out. So I have used the thicker foam tape here, so there's two thicknesses that I often use, and the thicker one in this instance because of the different dimensions in behind. So just attaching those at top and bottom, and thinking about some sequins. And so I went through my scrap bags of older embellishments and things and found quite a few snowflakes, stickers and die cuts and chipboard shapes. And so I'm just sort of placing these around the page, just adding some more interest to the already fabulous cut file that Virginia has created for Confessions of a Paper Addict. And you can find these on her shop in Etsy, and I'll link up that below. And most of the other products I've used here, all of them actually, are close to my heart, and that will be linked below as well. So I've used the green glue by Tombow here for the slightly heavier cardstock embellishments. It seems to be just a great glue to use across the board. And now I'm just putting some glue dots down because I'm going to add some sequins, and I sometimes use liquid glass, but I wanted to keep this a reasonably dry process, and so I'm just sticking these at various places, and then I'm going to go round with the some of the sort of the white and silver sequins, and I'm just going to add them to where I've placed the glue dots, using a mixture of sort of white, iridescent, see-through and silver sequins here. Just adds another shimmer, another or reflective property to the page as well. So it has quite a bit in here with the stamping, with the stitching, with the cut files and the die cuts and different layers in behind the photos as well. So you can see that shimmer and shine there as I lifted it up. And now I am going to add a little bit of journaling over here on the side of the W and the T. And I just drew the lines with the pen and then am writing on top just about the winter already starting in the Wakatipu area this season. So I challenge you to get some stitching, get some stitched cut files to make this even easier. The dots are already all there, so you just got to add the sewing bit through it, which takes a bit of time, but it's great in front of TV, and maybe pull in some stamping too. Thanks for watching.